Hello, world. This is Hobbs McCain,
My name's Mark Ray Redmond.
and we're back with This is America. We're coming at you today with the economic segment. This has been an ongoing issue. We've had a couple episodes on it because of its importance, and that is the trade tariffs that Mr. Trump and his friends are implementing on different people in the world. Specifically, earlier this week, China and the U.S. started their trade war. The war is on. It's no longer just talk. People aren't bluffing anymore. They both imposed 34 tariffs on $34 billion of each other's imports. And afterwards, Trump said that in a couple weeks he's going to do increase it by 16 billion. And if China doesn't continue, or if China doesn't, basically bend to his will, that he's willing to go up to $500 billion worth of tariffs, which is, just so you know, about equal to the amount that we imported last year from China. So this really isn't hurting anybody. I mean, it isn't helping anybody. Excuse me.
At all.
If you look at the stock market hasn't shown that much of a change yet, just because it's a 34 billion to me and 99% of Americans is crazy amount of money. But in terms of internationally, $34 billion isn't like a crazy hit. I think if we go the 2 weeks and get it up to 50 million, I think that China's expected to take like a 0.2% drop in their GDP. So it's a drop. Yeah, it's a drop, but it's not anything devastating. But that's assuming that it doesn't escalate more. And with DT in office, it seems like it's likely to escalate.
To me, it's actually pretty funny that it's gotten this far because I feel like if we, recent Lehigh college graduates can see it, like we're 22 years old, if we could have seen this coming, I know that people in the White House saw it coming. I know people close to him saw this coming. And it's just confusing to me how nobody said anything or how nobody had enough power in his mind to help him stop this. It's kind of frustrating, especially when you look at what China's talking about taxing us on, imposing tariffs on. I live in Dayton, Ohio, and they're talking about putting the tariff on corn. There's a lot of cornfields here, dog. You said it. I used to make jokes about that when I was at school. Came back and I saw we do grow a lot of corn here. We do grow soybeans here. We do grow wheat here. All three of those, I think, are going to get taxed. Maybe just two, corn and soybeans, but there are four things that I read that are going to get taxed agriculturally.
Yeah.
And those two are very, very important here in Ohio. And that's just one facet of it. That's just the agricultural side. I'm sure there's more industries that are going to be affected by these tariffs if this continues to escalate.
Yeah. And China their tariffs are very heavy on the agricultural side. And interestingly enough, these tariffs are having the most effect on farmers, ranchers, and the people that were really staunch Trump supporters. Which is ironic because they put Trump in office to help them, right? And this tariff is designed to help big businesses because big businesses are the only people who have large investment overseas, and the international trade arena only really affects big businesses. Like the coffee shop down the street that there's only one of in the world, they're not trading with China. So the if there was a coffee bean tax from China and they were buying their coffee beans from a store who imported their things from their coffee beans from China. That means that now this little tiny store has to pay way more for their coffee, and they don't even know. Like they really don't even know why. They're just like looking at Kroger or Publix. Like why are we paying $10 for a bag of coffee beans? And that's just an example. So don't
They didn't used to be $10 though. Like that's how people are gonna be looking at it. They're gonna just be like, "Why? What's going on?" And if you've been watching, we told you a couple weeks ago that this was going to turn into a trade war if he just starts imposing tariffs on people. Imposing the tariffs was supposed to help American businesses. It was supposed to make their goods more expensive and make our goods the cheapest alternative. It makes sense, right? Like it sounds good, but when it comes down to it, like we said, you can't just tax everybody. That's just not how politics works. Like I'm sorry that the country's not a business. The USA is not Trump Towers. You can't just run it like a business. It doesn't work like that. I'm sorry. I hate that I'm repeating myself, but I feel like somebody needs to tell us because he isn't hearing it, and he's continuing to push us down a road that we don't want to go. Because this, I don't want to say this. I hate to say this, but I think that it's pushing us towards another recession.
No, I mean that's a fact. A few analysts from Bank of America actually said that right now, forecasts are assuming that it's just going to be a modest escalation before the end of the summer. So they're not expecting anything like wild to go bad. But when Donald Trump threw out that number of 500 billion, if that hits, that will throw us into a recession. Because we people underestimate the impact that Chinese goods have on American companies. There's going to be a real impact on supply chain groups. Because China doesn't necessarily build our airplanes or build our cars, right? But we buy that little tiny piece that holds the whole entire plane together. That little piece comes from China. Like there's just little different pieces from different industries, like the automobile industry, the airplane industry, airplane manufacturing. So all of these industries are going to be affected by the fact that China is now increasing tariffs on everything that we export to them, and we have increased tariffs to everything that they export to us. So these companies are either going to have to shift their production overseas, in which case we're going to lose a lot of jobs, like we said, the Harley Davidson thing.
Yeah, I heard the same thing about General Motors.
Yeah,
Again,
and Harley Davidson and General Motors are two of the most American companies that Harley Davidson supported Donald Trump.
this is going to happen
Like
again. We just watched this happen. It
so,
happened. Like somebody needs to say something.
yeah. So I mean, it's kind of it's ironic,
It's
um,
selfish.
and
Because big
yeah,
business
it's
is not
it's
going to get hurt.
selfish. Yeah. I mean, some big businesses like the automobile industry might be hurt a little bit, but like I said,
Because
with
most
this,
stuff.
yeah, no, the people, the average consumer is getting hurt the most because prices are going up. Just like you said, I think in a previous episode, um, you know, big businesses are gonna make their money, and as a consumer, we are at the liberty of the American economy. So if prices rise, we can
You're
be
going to
as
have to pay
upset as we want to be. We can complain as much as we want, but if we got to pay $30 for a gallon of gas, unless you're gonna walk everywhere, I bet you're gonna pay $30 for your gas. Like
you
so,
going to pay it,
yeah,
man. You're going to be at the
yeah,
pump
you're
making
gonna be
lights.
upset about it. But it's just interesting because the Trump administration has really boasted about this economy that they say they've built. Um,
Didn't build it.
yeah, we've talked about that before, so we're not going to get into that. But they've boasted on this economy, but at the same time, um, you know, Republican Congressman Jerry Noren said tariffs not only hurt farmers, ranchers, and airplane manufacturers, but also harm every consumer. You know, different Republican analysts have said that these tariffs are going to lead to an economic recession. But at the same time, they're arguing for this election in November that the economy, Donald Trump and his administration have put into place policies that have boosted our economy to such and such number, such and such number. We explained in a previous episode that is in part fake news.
In part fake news, because Barack Obama had. Well,
yeah. We don't got to get into it just because if y'all want to look at, y'all could check out the last video, or not the last video, but for the economic video from last week. But the point is that while the economy is very good right now, in a year, we might be looking at some very, 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 hard to swallow economic facts, like the fact that everything that we import from China is going to be 25% more. Everything that
look around the house and just see what says made in China. Just look at the name on your TV, name of everything around your house. Just search and see how much money you're going to be losing if you were buying all that a year from now.
Yep. But luckily, all hope is not lost. Like I said, the $34 billion right now isn't devastating. Like, there will probably be small changes, small, variations in the stock market or in the GDP and GDP growth in China and the U.S. In retaliation to these newly introduced tariffs, 34 billion and possibly the 16 billion. But even 50 billion isn't necessarily that much. But the fact that Trump's throwing out 500 billion, if it gets to that, that's because we import so much Chinese goods and they don't import as many American goods. So that $500 billion worth of tariffs is really going to hurt them. This is going to cause them to depreciate the value of their dollar. It's going to hurt our economy and start doing more, down in the gutter things that to affect our economy, less just straight up tariffs. And China's already said that they don't want a trade war. Like they would rather sit at the table and negotiate. But Trump isn't a negotiator. He's a do what I want you to do, or I'm gonna put a tariff on you. So that's why we're having problems with the NAFTA agreement. That's why we're having problems with trading in the EU. That's why we're having problems with NATO, because when people don't do things Trump's way, he gets upset about it. And he thinks that he can use his position as president to retaliate in a Trumpian way that is not reminiscent of what an American president should be doing. American president should be a diplomat and should
different though.
Yeah, everything he does, and all his supporters are now learning at how different he can be and how his difference is affecting them. His supporters in Kansas, his supporter in Texas, his supporters in Iowa, states that he won. These states are high in agriculture business, high in agriculture exports, especially to China. And these farmers and ranchers are getting hurt by these tariffs. This is hurting their business. So, I guess if you're in that top 1%, congratulations. But most of Trump's supporters, they're not in the top 1%. They're poor, less educated. It's a fact. Farmers, and
the highest group that voted for him, the group that voted for him with the most prominence was white males with no college degree. This is just the facts. Like, this is data I studied for 4 years.
We're a year and a half into this presidency. Come November, hopefully, we won't have an entirely red government, because that's not going to be boding well. We're going to talk about that in a later episode, so stay tuned. But, come November, we'll be in 2 years of Donald Trump presidency, and we will start to see the effects of the policies that he's implemented, whether they be good or bad. So all of this is a little bit of speculation at this point, just because it's been, a couple days since the tariffs have taken effect. But you kind of have to look forward to be prepared for what's coming. So you guys stay safe out there, and keep your pockets warm while you can.
Trying to start being a little bit more frugal, you feel me?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But thank y'all for tuning in. If y'all disagree, if y'all agree, like we always say, leave a comment below. Like, subscribe, share with your friends.
Share with your friends for sure. You can add us as friends on Facebook or follow me on Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah, do all that stuff, and we're gonna keep this content coming at you, so that you guys can be as informed as possible. So thank you guys for tuning in again, and we're out.